All right, this week's project should be fairly straightforward. So you can see down here I've downloaded the sound palette template. So you just double click to open up the zip. You can just get rid of that. And here's the template that you're going to be working with in Microsoft Word. I shouldn't have to explain this, so you're just going to fill in the associated things. Fairly straightforward. So, and once you do that, what I would like you to do is put your name on this. So put sound palette and your last name. Obviously not my last name. The reason I do that is because I do a batch download, and when I grade all these or look at all these, so that way I could tell what is yours. So just set that aside for now. You've done that. Then for the next project, we're going to launch GarageBand, and you're going to select empty project. Go choose. And in this case, we're going to use software instruments. So we'll create one. And again, we will be working with the smart controls, but not right now. And so your project, I'm going to call my project, it has a happy vibe. So basically what you want to do, I'm assuming you don't have a MIDI keyboard hooked up, that's fine. We're going to go Command K and select your virtual keyboard here. And I can actually use the electric piano for a sound, but I'm going to go with piano. And no, I don't want. I'm just going to continue. So now I have my Steinway Grand. So I'm just going to create, because this is kind of a happy sound and I want kind of an upper octave. So I'm going to move the keyboard up to the upper octave. Maybe a little bit too high. So associated with a happy sound. So I'm just going to, again, I'm going to change my tempo from 120 to 80, so I get a slower count in when I do this. I'm going to turn the metronome off, but keep the count on. So this is going to give me 4 clicks before I create my sound. And I'm just going to create in this case, a fairly, I'm going to hold down the sustain key and create a fairly nice little, that's a nice little happy sound. Obviously, if you put, that's not a happy sound. So you can experiment with this. I'm not going to get into too much musical details. Know that these are a third apart, so they sound nice. These are a half step apart. Black and white keys. Sounds a little evil. So you get the idea. So I'm going to create my sound, my little happy sound right here. And I'm going to make it a little bit longer by holding down the tab key for sustain. So here it is. So that's my nice little happy sound. So when I play that back, you get the idea. So now I've created a sound. And then I'm going to go up to the plus, and I'm going to add another software instrument. And it's going to default to this, but in this case, I'm going to want to, again, don't need smart controls. I'm going to want to change the sound of this. So I'm going to go to mallet, and I'm going to go to, let's go to orchestral. In this case, I'm going to go to harp, which is always very, so I'm going to change this to harp. So now I should be hearing, I'm going to move this down a little octave. Ooh, minor, not so good. So you can just experiment with what you think might be a happy or sad sound. So in this case, this is pretty happy. I might move it up another octave. There we go. So I'm just going to create another sound. Now, I heard my first sound, so probably what you want to do is mute it when you're recording your second sound. So now I can... Okay, so in this manner, you're going to create 5 different sounds for your project, whatever. Be creative. I mean, you have quite a bit of sounds to experiment with. And we're going to be talking about recording your own sounds and using free sounds and loops. But for this one, we're just going to use our instruments to record sounds. So Let's say I've recorded 5 sounds. Now I want to export these. So first one, I'm going to mute every other sound. Or you could actually solo a sound. And that's another way you could do this. So if I solo, I'll just hear the sound that I soloed. Let's work with solo. So I'm going to create, I'm going to use my cycle range by clicking on the top. You notice that there's your cycle range. I'm going to turn my count off. Make sure you do that. And then I'm going to take the cycle range and encapsulate what my sound, the length of my sound. We don't need our keyboard anymore. Just housekeeping, you don't have to do this. Then what I'm going to do, hit rewind, and I'm going to go to share. And I'm going to export song to disk. And in this case, I'm going to title my song, so I'm going to call this Happy Piano. And I'm going to put my name on this. So again, I know who it is. We're going to save this as an MP3. And I'm going to be talking about different file formats later on in the class. And I'm going to just save it to medium quality, 128 bits. And so I'm going to go, and I also, a very important thing, you want to make sure that it saves it to the desktop. A command shortcut for this is Command D, but you want to make sure you save it to the desktop. So I'll go export. And so now there's my sound. And you can just click on the space bar and you can actually hear it. So there's my happy sound. So you're going to do the same thing with the harp sounds. Now I just solo the harp sound, and I might push this a little bit more, my cycle range. So I'm just getting that short little sound, and I'm going to go to share, export to disk, and now I'm going to call this harp. Whoops. And then my name. I can't type today. And harpin. And same thing, desktop, MP3, 128, go export. Collapse this down, and there's my harp sound. There it is. So now I've got my piano and harp sound. You're going to do this with 5 sounds. Then you're going to create a folder. So you go Shift Command N for new folder. I don't even know where the pull down is, but so I'm going to call this week 6, my last name. And I'm going to put everything in here. All these folders, all these files. Create a new folder. You go up to File, New Folder. I know the, new folder. I know the Shift Command N. So either way, then once this is done, we're going to zip it. So we have everything in our folder. I'm going to click on the folder so it's highlighted. Go up to File, go to Compress. And there it is. And so make sure you compress it. It'll compress it to the desktop. And this is what you're going to upload into Moodle. So that way I know it's week 6, your name, etc. So that's the project walkthrough. Like I said, if you have any questions, contact me, but don't contact me on the last day that the day that it's due. I do have office hours. I am available. And this should be pretty straightforward.